Everyone wants control over people, over outcomes, over how they're seen. They call it ambition. Machiavelli called it blindness, because the moment you try to control everything, you lose the one thing that mattered: presence. True power isn't loud. It doesn't demand. It doesn't chase. It influences without motion. Look around. Most people fight to be heard. They talk endlessly to prove relevance, move constantly to prove progress. But those who truly rule understand a simpler truth. Control is the tool of the insecure. Authority is the art of being still. Machiavelli wrote, "He who depends on force invites resistance. Force invites rebellion. Stillness commands reflection." When your energy is grounded, people start rearranging themselves around you, not out of fear, but out of instinct. That's the beginning of silent authority, presence that shapes reality without touching it. Have you ever noticed how certain people calm the room just by walking in? They don't dominate, they stabilize. Their silence carries a kind of gravity, one that says, "I'm not here to convince, I'm here to decide." That's not charisma, that's composure. And composure is the language of power. Because emotion makes you readable, and the one who's readable is controllable. Machiavelli studied rulers who fell not because they were weak, but because they reacted. He saw that the man who can stay still under accusation rules over those who panic trying to prove innocence. Power is not about always being right. It's about never being shaken. Your calm must feel like certainty. Your certainty must feel like inevitability. When others get loud, you let silence magnify your weight. That's how authority works, not by noise, but by contrast. Silent authority isn't passive, it's architectural. Every word, every pause, every glance is placed like stone in a structure only you can see. You don't argue, you frame. You don't demand, you define. And once you define, others begin to act within your frame without realizing you built it. Machiavelli understood this as the art of shaping perception. He wrote that it is not the strongest ruler who survives, but the one who understands the theater of power. So you learn to play the role the world needs to believe. To speak less, but with the tone that ends discussions. To make silence feel intentional. To let others think it was their idea all along. Because real control isn't in command, it's in calibration. The one who sets the emotional temperature of a room is the one who governs it. That's the secret. You don't control people. You control how they feel around you. You can't rule what you're too close to. Influence needs space to breathe. The modern world teaches intimacy as the highest virtue. But Machiavelli saw its danger. Familiarity erodes reverence. The more accessible you become, the more ordinary you appear. Silent authority is maintained through distance, not emotional coldness, but energetic clarity. You must be known, but not reachable. Visible, but unreadable. Distance creates perception, and perception creates hierarchy. That's why the wise ruler doesn't argue or explain. He allows curiosity to do the work of persuasion. Machiavelli believed that the mystery of a leader is worth more than his words. Because when people can't fully see you, they begin to imagine something larger than you. And that imagination, if guided well, becomes loyalty. People fear what they can't read, but they also rely on what they can predict. The secret is to use both. A dangerous ruler isn't chaotic, He's strategic with uncertainty. He gives just enough routine for trust and just enough mystery for respect. Machiavelli studied men who made the mistake of being consistent in everything. Predictability made them prey, because once people can map your rhythm, they can trap your timing. So, stay consistent in principle, but unpredictable in execution. Let them know your values, not your next move. Let them read your calm, not your calendar. Let your reputation stay clear, but your methods stay fogged. Because the moment they think they've figured you out, you shift. Just enough to remind them that you are not pattern, you are presence. And presence, when wielded correctly, is the only form of control that needs no defense. Every conversation, every gesture, every argument is a transaction of energy. Most people spend, rulers invest. Machiavelli knew that control isn't gained by effort, it's preserved by conservation. You don't chase attention, you accumulate it. You don't fight noise, you outlast it. You don't convince, you calibrate. The more you hold your energy, the more others feel compelled to offer theirs. That's why silence unnerves the weak. It exposes their addiction to reaction. Your restraint forces revelation. It makes others reveal what they fear, what they need, what they hide. While they're busy speaking, you're gathering intelligence. This is why true rulers speak less, not because they have nothing to say, but because they understand that attention is currency, and silence is interest. Perception is the invisible empire everyone lives in, but few ever govern. To rule without control, you must understand the architecture of how people see. Perception isn't truth, it's reflection, and reflections can be engineered. Machiavelli taught that image shapes loyalty more than virtue. A leader's presence must be designed like a mask, not to deceive, but to direct focus. Show warmth, selectively. Reveal wisdom, sparingly. Allow flaws, intentionally. Because perfection creates envy, but precision creates reverence. The mind follows what it admires, and admiration doesn't need command. It needs composition. Your task is to compose yourself into a myth that others willingly believe in. That myth becomes authority, and authority becomes order. The greatest rulers didn't control people. They curated how people perceive them. That's not manipulation. That's art. In the end, the highest form of power is the absence of the need for it. You've spent your life learning to move quietly, to hold space instead of chase space, to guide without grasping. Now you understand. Control was never the goal. Clarity was. When your mind is steady, reality bends to match it. When your energy is sovereign, the world adjusts its tone. Machiavelli would call this ruling by essence, not by decree, not by fear, but by presence so grounded that chaos organizes itself around you. You don't need to be followed, you just need to be felt. And the paradox is this: the moment you stop trying to control everything, you finally rule, because you've mastered the only kingdom that was ever real, yourself. Greater than he who conquers others shows strength, Lao Tzu once said. But he who conquers himself shows true power. So let the world spin. You stay centered. You don't move with noise. You move with knowing. That's not just authority. That's silent divinity.